And as we go to air tonight, once again, there's flooding in Queensland. For those affected, it's heartbreaking, but many are thankful that it looks unlikely to reach the devastating heights of last summer. Those floods are still the subject of an inquiry, which last week announced it was reopening to hear new evidence. And as John Taylor reports, today it heard an extraordinary attack on the flood engineers who controlled Brisbane's major dam.
Wivenhoe Dam is Queensland's most important piece of public infrastructure and its most dangerous. In good times, it captures water for Greater Brisbane to drink, and in bad times, mitigates floods. At the height of last summer's flood crisis, it became so full that operators' only consideration was the safety of the dam. If it failed, it would be an almost unimaginable disaster, putting at risk an estimated 244,000 people. But it's what happened in the days before then that's now being re-examined. Inside this building was a locked, electronically protected room open to only a select group of authorised people. It was the Flood Operations Centre, maintained in a fully operational state at all times. It was in here that just 4 men and their assistants controlled Wivenhoe Dam. What they did, when and why, is crucial to understanding the worst flooding in Brisbane in more than 3 decades. More than 1,000 homes in Brisbane and another 1,000 in the nearby city of Ipswich were inundated. But thousands more homes and businesses were flood affected. Opinions have long been divided whether Wivenhoe was the hero or the villain.
Well, the support for the dam operators has been very much by people who haven't understood what happened. And a large part of the population, in fact, most people in Brisbane weren't flooded. And so for them, it's a non-event, it's all moved on. And after all, the inquiry said they did the best they could, so hey, that's the end of the story. Well, the Brisbane River's 100 metres through that park, and at 4 a.m. it came over the banks of the river, swept straight towards our house, and swept up until at its peak it was just at the top of the glass of those lights. Yes. And inside the house it was 1.25 metres over the floorboards.
But you were lucky in this street if you consider your neighbours that way and that way.
Absolutely. We're on a slight rise here, and while we got 4 feet of water through our house, houses in the dip that way and that way went totally under.
These photos reveal how bad it was. David Stark belongs to a Brisbane group considering a class action. He says Wivenhoe Dam should have released more water sooner. You believe that what happened last summer in Brisbane and Ipswich was largely man-made?
Absolutely. It was totally avoidable, and if they'd followed the manual, it wouldn't have happened.
Today in Brisbane, some of the state's sharpest legal minds gathered for hearings at Queensland's Flood Commission. They weren't supposed to happen. After months of work, 300 witnesses interviewed, hearings were over, and a final report was weeks away from being released. The inquiry had already accepted an independent report that flood engineers achieved close to the best mitigation result possible. But then last week, it all changed.
On the 23rd of January this year, Mr. Hedley Thomas, writing in The Australian, pointed to a number of features in the evidence which suggested, amongst other things, that the dam was not operated in the manner described to the Commission. If true, the suggestion is a serious one and involves questions not only as to how the dam was managed, but as to how the public and the Commission have been informed about the January event.
A series of articles in The Australian allege that dam operators may have disobeyed their manual in the crucial days before Brisbane was flooded. It's alleged operators used a strategy that was concerned with protecting upstream rural areas rather than the downstream city. In terms of water, the difference amounts to not releasing just under an Olympic swimming pool a second. That has implications for when, or even if, Wivenhoe Dam later became so full that it had no choice but to release an enormous volume of water. It's always been known that sloppy records were kept by the dam controllers, but an official report written afterwards by the statutory owner of Wivenhoe Dam said the manual was followed.
The Commission accepted the accuracy of the March report, the sworn testimony of Mr Eyre, and the evidence of the other three engineers, Mr John Tiboldi, Terence Malone and John Ruffini.
The first person called was one of the dam controllers during the crisis, flood engineer John Tiboldi, who also wrote the later report. At one stage he broke into tears, but was adamant he and his colleagues did nothing wrong.
The report, I'd suggest to you, was calculated to convey the impression because you were afraid of what people would think if they knew there had been no choice of strategy during the event.
Look, you know, I disagree with you. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to present the facts. Because of the way I've written it, you feel it's not that way. Sorry, but I can't agree with you.
Counsel assisting went on, accusing him of creating a fiction that doesn't represent a single thing that happened during the event.
I'd suggest that you and the others have shown a disregard for the manual during the operation of this event.
Don't agree.
And that in the preparation of the report you have simply shown a disregard for the truth.
Don't agree.
The new hearings are already generating heat. Paul Tully, a local councillor from Ipswich, west of Brisbane, says the evidence suggests decisions at the time were being made on the run.
It's unbelievable what evidence has come out today. Basically, it's shown that there has been breaches of the manual. That could potentially open up probably Australia's largest class action against the government.
Premier BLIGH allowed the flood inquiry to hold more hearings and wants its final report before the state election on March the 24th. And now, even she has been asked to provide further information by Monday.
The Commission is seeking my assistance with any briefings that were provided to me in relation to the unfolding flooding events. I'll be very happy to provide every document that the Commission requests. I want to know the truth. I'm very happy to be able to help the Commission in their investigations.
John Taylor with that report.